in Washington and WBAI in New York. I'm Sue Goodwin.
Oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Darker Than Blue here in Washington, D.C. on WPFW 89.3 FM here in the Washington, D.C. area. I am Jackie Lukeman. Welcome to Darker Than Blue on this fantastic, lovely, mild summer Friday, July 26th, an incredibly eventful week in US politics, I'm sure. Um, Way more eventful. People are very confused about what's going on. People are not quite sure what is happening, but it has been an interesting turn of events this week in regard to US politics, these past 2 weeks with what's going on with the Democratic Party and this election. I have taken to saying that this will be the most annoying election of our lifetime. And that is because obviously, excuse me, lots and lots of people are terrified of another Trump presidency. And listen, it's not that I, Jacqueline Lukeman, am sitting here saying that we should not care that Trump could win the presidency again, because not because he's not a dangerous person and he doesn't have dangerous ideas and the GOP isn't a dangerous political apparatus. Yes, they absolutely are, but they are also very obvious in what they do and what they want to do and how they're going to do it. I mean, honestly, this whole thing about Project 2025 that has been public before. So when that document was released this time, it wasn't like a new hack. The document has been out before, and in typical fashion in this country, most people paid no attention to it, just like they have paid no attention to the GOP and their efforts to implement much of what is in Project 2025 already, and have been implementing these things for decades. If you actually read the document, and I know most people have not read that almost 900-page document. First, let me just say, folks, do you think the GOP created a 900-page document like this year and just included all of the things they wanted to do once they won the White House again? Is that really what people believe? That people really believe that this is a new document? These are new ideas. These are new threats from the GOP that have been published in this Project 2025. I mean, do people really believe that? And I understand that people believe that because obviously people haven't even read the table of contents of the document, because if they had just read of the first few pages, first whatever chapter, they would have realized that a lot of what is in Project 2025 has already been implemented by the GOP with the help of the Democrats. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. I don't want to get just bogged down in the weeds about it, but we cannot allow people to continue to convey this idea that the Republicans are uniquely and singularly dangerous for us in general as people, but for Black people and queer people and trans people and women and marginalized people specifically. That is just not true. And I don't understand how people who pay any attention to politics, even on a tertiary level in this country, I don't understand how people really do believe that it's just the GOP that's our problem, because many of the things that people are afraid of happening from Project 2025, further repression of women, further denial of rights of queer people, denying all medical support for trans people, even adults. Ending abortion access, eliminating teaching history, the history of racism in this country, eliminating that from public school curriculums, taking certain books that they find objectionable out of libraries and out of public school libraries in particular, cutting the budgets for public school programs like free lunch. These things have already been done, y'all. Those things that I mentioned, in addition to the continuation of voter, not just suppression, but the denial of access to the ballot box entirely to formerly incarcerated people. Most states in this country, people who are incarcerated cannot vote. And even when you have been released, you're on parole, you have served your sentence, your voting rights in most states in this country still are not restored. If you have a criminal record, if you have served time in this country, in a lot of states, you no longer have the right to vote. And not only are the Republicans fine with that, and they have fought efforts that have been pushed by grassroots activists to reverse that. While that's absolutely true, Democrats have stood in the way of re-enfranchising formerly incarcerated people, people who have criminal records. Yeah, the GOP does not want those people to be able to vote. But guess who didn't really do a whole lot to help those grassroots organizers push that idea, that proposal, that fix, that reversal of the denial of voting rights to a segment of the population in this country? The Democrats didn't do a whole lot to help push that. There was no re-enfranchisement of former felons on any Democratic politician's platform. That was all grassroots folks, and the Democrats did not get behind a lot of those efforts. Just like they haven't done much to stop gerrymandering that the GOP is still doing. They haven't done much to stop the GOP closing polling places, changing their hours, particularly closing polling places around college campuses. In working class and poor neighborhoods, so that there are literally fewer places for people to go to cast their ballot. And those people are mostly people that they believe are more likely to vote for Democrats. So yeah, they don't want students to vote. They do not want working class and poor people who know they're oppressed to vote. They don't want people to vote. The GOP. That's absolutely true. And like I have said many times, the GOP has never made it a secret. They have never hidden the fact that they have never wanted everyone in this country to vote. They do not believe in democracy. I told you in the late 70s or early 80s, Paul Weyrich, who is one of the founders of the Heritage Foundation, said in an open conference that you can Google it on YouTube to this day, right now. Go to YouTube and Google Paul Weyrich, Weyrich, I believe is how you spell his name, Heritage Foundation, and Goo government speech. Google that. Goo government speech by Paul Weyrich. When you do that, you will see and hear Paul Weyrich saying publicly to a conference room full of Republicans. And he says very clearly, most people in this country have what I call the goo government syndrome. They think the government is good. This is what he's telling people now. And they want everyone to vote. They think the government is good, so they want everyone to vote and participate in the government. And then Paul Weyrich says, well, I don't want everyone to vote. It has never been the case since the founding of this country that everyone was allowed to vote in order for the government to work. Paul Warwick, one of the founders of the Heritage Foundation, said it in public that they do not want everyone to vote. And he said this back in the late 70s, early 80s, captured on video. So what are y'all terrified about in Project 2025? If this is what the GOP has been talking about since at least the late 70s. And we do know that the GOP has been actively using political power to erode and deny rights to people long before Project 2025 came along, because there was the whole moral majority movement that they claimed they were focused on abortion, but we know the moral majority arose out of their refusal to adhere to IRS law that said that if you are a tax exempt entity, you cannot racially discriminate against people. You cannot discriminate based on gender. You cannot, if you are receiving tax exemption from the government, you cannot discriminate against folks. They didn't like that because they're private Christian, all white, mostly universities that kind of came out of the civil rights era, right? A lot of these white Christian universities and schools, secondary schools, came out of the fight against integration. Oh, sorry. Here's my dog, upset. So the GOP decided that instead of coming out and saying, well, we don't want to pay taxes because we're going to keep, we're going to keep discriminating against folks. So we do not want to lose our tax exempt status. And we're going to fight this. But what we're going to do in order to fight this is, instead of saying we want to maintain the right to continue to discriminate against Black folks, because that's what the issue was. Bob Jones University was a private Christian university, and they had a rule against integrated dating. Yeah, they did. It was on the books. It was part of their rules. They were tax exempt, though, and they were sued because of their racial discrimination, and they're still getting tax exempt status from the government. The GOP stepped in and said, this is an overreach of government power. So whenever you hear a conservative say that the government is tyrannical and they're always overreaching their power, it's never because the government has actually harmed someone. No, when the GOP says, oh, the government has overreached its power, it's because the government, the few times that it does, is telling usually racists, bigots, xenophobes, patriarchs, misogynists, that you cannot enjoy government perks of tax exempt status and other kinds of things while you're also violating the law by discriminating against people. This is all the government is saying. It's actually doing its job in this limited instance. And the response from the white conservatives in this country was, the government is our enemy. That's where the moral majority came from. This fight over Bob Jones University and their racist policy against Black students, right? Keeping the Blacks from dating the white girls on campus, literally what it was. And the GOP saying, no, we should have a right to discriminate against whoever we want to. The government has overreached its power in telling us Christians that we can't exercise our values, our religious freedom. You see where it comes from now? So when these people are talking about religious freedom, they're actually not talking about they're not able to be Christians. They're not able to exercise their faith. They're not able to live their faith because they know that's not what's happening. What's happening is, or what happened in the case of Bob Jones University, was the government saying, yeah, it's nice that you all are Christians and you have your little academy and all that kind of stuff, but you're not going to continue to not pay taxes while you are violating federal law in regard to discriminating against your Black students. And what's his name? Jerry Falwell and other leaders of the white evangelical Christian community got together and decided to make Bob Jones University their cause celeb. And that's where this whole attack on religious freedom garbage came from the conservatives. So they understand very well that the government is not saying that they can't be Christians. The government was literally saying you can't have this tax exempt status and be racist bigot at the same time. No, you can't do that. That's what that argument was. So this whole thing about people being very upset about what's in Project 2025, moral majority has been successful in translating their initial fight to protect Bob Jones University's right to racially discriminate. They have been able to successfully organize and implement more of those kind of policies and protections for their institutions. And they have gone further and they've gotten their people that they have cultivated from the ground up, elected into all kinds of public offices. So now this ideology that they have is being implemented on a local and state level. And look at how many of them are in Congress. So it's on a federal level too. So people are terrified about Project 2025 and this document that, is supposed to reflect all of the evil things that the GOP is going to do if Trump wins again. And I'm just saying to you folks, the GOP has already done most of these things. I'm not sure where people have been. I do not know how people have missed that in a lot of states just this year. Just this year, the GOP have successfully cut funding for free school lunch programs. They've already done it. They have already literally shut down libraries in schools in Texas, in public schools. They've already done it. They have already eliminated the teaching of what they call critical race theory, but it ain't nothing but history. And it's the history of racism in this country, the history of genocide in this country, the history of misogyny and homophobia and transphobia and xenophobia in this country. It's the history of this country. They have already succeeded in getting that eliminated from curriculum in a lot of public schools in this country. Are they gunning for the Department of Education? Absolutely, but they've been gunning for the Department of Education for a few decades. I think I remember, what was that man's name? Maybe Ron Paul talking about the Department of Education at some point. And why do we need it and get rid of it? Oh my gosh. So what I'm saying is, I don't want us to be I don't want to say distracted, but I don't want us to get overwhelmed and transfixed and hypnotized by, we have to do everything possible to keep Project 2025 from happening. Project 2025 is already here. It is already, most of it has been here for decades. We have seen the advancement of it under Biden, because Joe Biden negotiated with the Republicans so that they could get what they wanted, which was the reduction in funding for a lot of social programs like SNAP and CHIPS benefits. If you don't know what CHIPS is the health insurance program for children whose parents live below the poverty line. That's been cut. SNAP benefits, food stamps were cut. Yeah. These things, when prices have not gone down, rent, food, gas, still really extremely expensive. Also, Biden has approved new drilling licenses off the coast of Alaska, going back on yet another campaign promise. Then there was the student loans that people still have. Remember when the student loans were forgiven at first, and then you went into your student loan account, it's like, oh, praise the Lord, there's no student loan. And then after the GOP sued, then you went back and they sent you an email and it's like, not so fast. You still owe this money. And that's really odd to me because Joe Biden has been in Congress for 50 years now. 50 years. He didn't know that they were going to sue. He is the president of the government that forgave, I don't know how many PPP loans. Remember those? Remember those loans? Those COVID loans for the businesses that people were applying for, and then they turned around and had the government forgive the loans, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I am sure in a couple of cases, a couple $1 million just forgiven. The government just forgave them just like it was magic. But when it came to student loans, the government had no power to forgive those loans. The government could forgive the COVID loans to businesses and people who were pretending to be business owners, which I got to tell you, I'm not even mad at. I'm just saying that's what happened. But I'm saying the government had the power and the political will, because that's what politicians say all the time when they seemingly cannot do something that they've actually done before for another group of people who are not working class and poor people. Right? They can always find the political will to do whatever the capitalist class wants, the CEOs, the donor classes, and even politicians of other countries, as we have seen this week. Benjamin Netanyahu is carrying out a genocide of Palestinians. Right now, he gets welcomed into Washington, D.C. by Congress, the people that y'all voted for to reflect and represent your interests. Was your interest to welcome a genocidaire into the Congress of this government that y'all keep voting for? That you all are actually now, people are actually now organizing in the weirdest way possible to ensure that another imperialist in blackface wins the election, to keep you from experiencing, I guess, whatever you think is going to happen in Project 2025 that you are not acknowledging is already here. I do not understand what is happening in this country right now. But I can tell you that for me, and this is just me speaking for me. This is just Jacqueline Lukeman speaking for me. I'm not speaking on behalf of the station, any organization I am associated with, any church I am associated with. This is just me, Jacqueline, speaking for me. Watching people's response to this incredibly undemocratic move the Democrats just made to anoint Kamala Harris as the candidate. Nobody voted for her. And to put a finer point on that, the fact that nobody voted for her this time around. But remember in 2020 when she ran for the office of, remember she threw her hat in the ring and she had to leave the campaign early because nobody voted for her. She did not get not one vote from not one delegate, just in 2020, just barely 4 years ago. And these people, they had plenty of reasons not to vote for her because her record as the top prosecutor in California, obviously horrible. We talked about that at length in 2020. But all of a sudden, because Joe Biden, somebody decided, and look, this is not to say that Joe Biden was ever really going to make it to November. We understood that wasn't going to happen. One way or another, that there were too many things going on with Joe Biden for any of us who have been paying attention to really believe, oh yeah, he's fit and fine to get to Izzy. He's just going to do it. He's going to come out swinging. That man was not going to come out swinging at nothing, because they don't have enough medication for him to. That's not. It is clear. It was clear. And this is not, ageism. No, Joe Biden is unwell. And that has been obvious for some time. So the powers that be that make the decisions for the Democratic Party, and it's not the delegates, and it sure is so-and-so ain't you and me. I forget that FCC rules, and I can't say the things I really want to, because I am so upset right now. And you should be too. You should be enraged that Joe Biden, and it wasn't even his decision, it was the people who make the decisions in the back rooms, deciding things for the Democratic Party that the delegates have not voted on, and the base of the party has not voted on. And what did I say last week? Remember in 2016, when the progressives took the Democratic Party to court, sued them for sabotaging Bernie Sanders' campaign. And what did the Democrats say in that court case, in the progression of that court case? It came out in court transcripts that the Democratic Party said, we never told the members of our party that it is a Democratic Party. We never told them that we are not the ones who will make the decisions, regardless of we never told them that they running things in here. And we're not going to tell them that they are running things, because they're not. Because if we want to choose who the candidate is in a smoky back room with nobody else present, we have a legal right to do that. And the court agreed with them. You hear how upset that makes Kimathi? If my dog is this upset about this, you all should be howling mad too. There's apparently a cat outside that has been tormenting him for about a week, but So we already know that the Democratic Party itself is not an actually democratic institution. Don't care about what you want. Don't care about who you want. Don't care about your progressive politics. They don't care about how much you're going to talk about, we're going to push the Democrats to the left. The Democratic Party has said in court, nobody is pushing us anywhere that we do not want to go. We are not progressives. We never will be progressives. We are neoliberal capitalists, and that is what we will always be, regardless of what anybody in this party wants. So if you don't like it, you get out. You aren't pushing this party anywhere that this party does not want to go. That's what they said in court. And the judge was like, well, yeah, legally, that's true. I mean, what you want? How come it took y'all taking these people to court to figure that out? We already know this about the Democratic Party. Regardless of whether people want to admit it or not, it is true. And now they have done this thing. Those powers that be, who make those backroom deals in, those smoky rooms with nobody present. They are the ones who made this decision. They are the ones who told Joe Biden, enough. We are not going to win with you. You are not going to be able to pull this election out. Enough. Step aside. That's what happened. You don't have to believe me. You should go over to Black Agenda Report right now. Well, not right now. After the show is over, you should go over to blackagendareport.com and read an excellent analysis of this coup that just occurred in the Democratic Party, written by Ajamu Baraka, the editor of one of the editors of Bar and a frequent columnist. And of course, we know he's a comrade and a good friend. But it's an excellent and amazing article. BlackAgendaReport.com. The article is called "War, Genocide, and Coups: Biden, Harris, and the Irreversible Crisis of Neoliberal Fake Democracy." All right. So go over there and read that article and be very clear about what it is that people are enthusiastically supporting now. You know, people aren't supporting a Democratic Party. They are supporting the other wing of a very undemocratic system. That's what the Democratic Party is. The Democrats are not the resistance party to the GOP. Right? They absolutely are not. They are the co-conspirators of the GOP. There might be a little bit, a tiny sliver of daylight in between the GOP and the DNC on a few policies. But that sliver of daylight is not so great that it would push the Democrats to do anything to ensure people's rights in regard to those policies. They use those policies, that little bit of daylight the Democrats have on specific policies. The only thing they do with that is to campaign on them. That's it. They don't ever intend to legislate anything about any of those things. The little bit of the daylight they have between the Republicans and themselves on like abortion rights, what have the Democrats done to actually ensure abortion rights are maintained in this? They didn't do anything. But they campaign now. They are campaigning that you have to vote for Kamala Harris because the Democrats are the only party that are going to protect abortion rights, even though they never did anything to protect abortion rights. And when Obama was president and he was asked about what the Democrats would do under him to protect abortion rights, his response was, abortion is not a policy priority for the Democratic Party right now. That is what he said. So the Democrats pulled off this coup in their own party. Not the first time. We've seen it before. I don't think we've seen it done this way before, where the powers that be tell Joe Biden, step aside, old man. And they anointed Kamala Harris. It wasn't a situation where all of these other Democratic governors were like, okay, now it's our time. We're going to throw our hat in the ring and we're going to let our base decide. We're going to present our case to our base about who among us is the best that they want to represent them again. Oh, no, it's none of that. It was none of that. The corporate bosses that back the Democratic Party told all of the other potential candidates, we need you to stand down. We need you to not run for nothing. This is Kamala Harris's race. We need you to get behind her. We need you to raise money for her. We need you to endorse her. They told the delegates, you will vote for her. And they did. And they it wasn't even a vote. They just pledged their support. Do you see how absolutely undemocratic that was? I almost feel like I'm in a country that won socialism and the government and the US government is attacking us with coups. Because this is what the government of this country does to countries like Venezuela and Cuba and Zimbabwe and Tanzania and other countries where the people have kicked imperialists out, have kicked the former colonizers out, and have chosen leaders from among the people who advocated for a socialist future for their countries. And as soon as that leader was chosen and said, we need to privatize our own industry and our own resources and control our own economy so that our people can benefit. As soon as that happened, then the US government comes in and says, no, we need to coup you. No, 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 because you cannot have access to your resources. We own those resources. They're ours, right? So when the US government does that to another country's leader, and they do it because they want to maintain control over the resources, but they also want to maintain control over the people, because people are resources too, remember? They're labor. And the US government is not sending its military to these countries to do the work, to mine and process and exploit, these resources. No, they're using the people. They are forcing the people into slave labor to dig the resources, their resources, out of their ground and forcibly give it to these foreign corporations that are supported and backed financially, politically, and militarily by the US government. So, no people in other countries where the US has quote unquote interests, when the US government says that it has interests in other countries, they mean they want those countries' resources and they want those people to do their bidding in handing over the resources. That's what US interests in other countries, in the regions. That's what that means. So, how is that different from what the Democrats just did in their own party when they did it for the same reason? The base of the Democratic Party is the resource for the party, because their candidates cannot continue to win if people don't keep voting for them. And you all have done it. You keep doing it. People, what is happening now, oh, well, I shouldn't say you all, because I'm sure, I'm hoping, I'm praying that most of the listeners of Darker Than Blue know better than to support these people, because what is happening now is that groups of voters, Democratic voters, are making a big deal about getting together and raising millions of dollars for a woman who is complicit in an active genocide. Not just one, but really two, when you look at Palestine and Congo that is happening at the same time. And people don't care about that. The interesting thing is, the people who are doing this, most of them are Black. And it has been wild to me to see Africans in this country actively behave as if they do not care that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, everybody in the Democratic Party, with the exception of maybe a few people that you can count on one hand, are supportive of the genocide of Black and brown people in Palestine and Congo too. You, I don't see how we're supposed to look at this any differently when Benjamin Netanyahu was just here, just visited Congress. This man is carrying out a genocide with the money and the military support and assistance from the US government, not just Joe Biden. Please, let's stop acting like Kamala Harris was not in on those decisions. And if we look at her statement from the protests of, Joe Biden, I'm sorry, of Benjamin Netanyahu, same person, just different country. Joe Biden, Benjamin Netanyahu, same white supremacist, settler, colonial, patriarchal monsters, genocidaires, both of them. And guess what? Kamala Harris is the same. She is no different from Barack Obama. She is the Black face of imperialism. And if you would go and look at her statement about the protests against Netanyahu just a couple of days ago, you'll see that she is still a cop. She is very much a Zionist. She always has been. She said that accusing Netanyahu of genocide is not very nice to Israel. Y'all, come on. And the people who are celebrating that they are getting together and raising millions of dollars for this woman, Black organizations. One group of Black women, obviously among her supporters, her sorority sisters from Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Let's see. What was it? 20,000? No, I'm sorry, 40,000 Black women. This is what I was looking for. Mobilization efforts for Harris have already started paying off. An organization called Win with Black Women organized a Zoom call with more than 40,000 Black women shortly after Biden's announcement and raised over $1.5 million in 3 hours to support Harris. The call, which included several celebrities and politicians, was initially intended for 1,000 participants, but ballooned to tens of thousands of supporters talking for hours. The Zoom meeting was historic and a culmination of so many Black women for years and years and years that have been working, cultivating, and creating for this moment. What moment? What moment were they working and cultivating and creating for? Because I can think of a whole lot of moments that have happened before this woman was chosen, anointed, coronated to run for the presidency for the Democratic Party. I can think of a whole bunch of moments before now that these 40,000 Black women could have gotten together and raised some money for, other than to put a genocidaire in the White House who is a Black woman. What moment were they working for? But it's not just them. Oh no, it's not just Black women. Roland Martin also hosted a Zoom meeting aimed at energizing Black males to get them to the polls, open up their wallets, and get on the streets to campaign for Harris. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported that over 21,000 Black men, including Senator Raphael Warnock, who has done absolutely nothing since he's been in office, and Atlanta Mayor Andre, I love Cop City, and I don't care how many protesters we killed, Dinkins, gathered for the call. The group was able to raise $500,000 within the first hour. Oh, Lord. Warnock said, "Don't let anybody slow us down," asking the question, can a Black woman be elected president of the United States? Kamala Harris can win. We just have to show up. History is watching us and the future is waiting for us. What future? What future are these people thinking this woman is good? I'll tell you, because I know y'all are asking, what are these people working for? What is their agenda? What? How were these people hitching their wagon to a woman who has a history of introducing, backing, and passing and carrying out legislation that targets working class and poor Black people in California? We've talked about this ad nauseum. But the interesting thing about this is that Roland Martin organizes all these Black men to come together and show up and all of, for her, but none of these people showed up when our comrades were being assaulted and abused, standing up for the lives of Palestinian people, of Congolese people, of Haitian people. We've been in the streets since before the election for all of these issues. Haiti, Palestine. We've been talking about Palestine for years, decades. I remember doing, Aptis and I did a fantastic webinar on Palestine for Plymouth Congregational United Church of Christ in 2018, after the Great March of Return massacre. 2018. I know that Reverend Graylin Hagler, the senior minister emeritus of Plymouth, my pastor, has been talking about Palestine for decades through his ministry. Everybody I know who is organizing has always understood that the struggle of Palestinian people for their liberation and the return of their land is connected to the struggle of African people against colonization, neo-colonization, imperialism, and US militarism. And all of that is connected to our struggle against the same things here. We've been talking about this, we've been knowing this for years, and we have been telling people this. Public education, popular education, political education, teaching, statements. And for decades, for years, what we have gotten from people is, well, why does this matter to me? Well, it's not happening to me, so I don't care. And somebody actually said that to someone who was talking to them about, oh, we got to vote for Harris. And the comrade said, why would we vote for someone who XYZ, ABC, DG, FH? And the response they got from the person they were talking to was, I don't care about what happens to those people in that country. That ain't us. This is what a Black person said to another Black person. So let's be clear here, folks. What we are seeing with all of these tens of thousands of Black women and Black men on these calls, throwing all their money behind Kamala Harris, somehow able to come together for a common goal and a common purpose. This common goal and common purpose just happens to be getting Kamala Harris elected. But none of these people came together at any time before now to raise money or even to craft a statement of support for any of us who have been in the streets fighting for human rights, for decent housing, for affordable education, for health care. Do you understand? For an end to war. This woman is not going to end not one war, just like Joe Biden wasn't, just like Donald Trump won't. What we're seeing here, folks, and I'm having such a hard time articulating what I want to say, because what I want to say are curse words. I cannot say them because I am outraged that so many of our people are this enthusiastic to get together and pool their resources behind getting the Black face of imperialism elected this time around, because that's all this is. If it were Hillary Clinton, it would just be a woman imperialist. Do you understand? I'm not picking on her because she's a Black woman. No, she is an imperialist who just happens to have been born a Black woman. She's still an imperialist, which makes her not one of us, which makes her not worthy of my support. I'm not telling you what to do, but I have a hard time saying that I fight for the people, that I fight for people-centered human rights for all people, that I fight for self-determination and sovereignty for all people, and then I turn around and vote for someone who is actively funding and arming a genocide and condemning the people who are trying to stop it. So all of these Black folks felt compelled to get together and pledge their support and their resources to get her elected, to get the Black woman genocidaire elected. But not at any time before this have they felt compelled to get together and pay thousands of people's rent, mortgages off, medical bills, tuitions? I mean, they were able to scramble up what she raised more than $80 million in 3 days. And I'm not sure if that's including or in addition to the 1.5 million and the $500,000 that the black women and the black men raised. And I think the black men ended up raising more than that. But then the white women did not want to be outdone and left out, because they're like, you know what? I am tired of you saying that we all vote for Trump. We do not all vote for Trump. We will vote for Harris. And then 164,000 white women logged on to hear a bunch of celebrities like Pink, the actor Connie Britton, Glennon Doyle, who's a writer and a podcaster, Megan Rapinoe, Sue Bird, Abby Wambach, elected officials, and they raised a bunch of money. By Friday, today, oh my God, by this afternoon, those 164,000 white women raised $8.5 million for Kamala Harris. None of these people got together before now and pledged their resources, support to any of our people struggling to stay alive, not domestically, not internationally. None of these people. So what we are seeing now, folks, really, aside from the lack of democracy that exists in the so-called Democratic Party, it's obviously not. What we're also seeing is the clear class division among our people in this country, and why class and racial issues need to be our focus. We need to be clear that these folks who are throwing all this money behind Kamala, do these people not realize how much money the DNC has, though? This is the thing that I'm just like, you all are pledging all of your money. And then they claim that this money came from, all these small donors. Ever since Bernie Sanders did that, now all of the politicians want to say that they also got all of these small donors too. Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. I don't think I believe that entirely. But even if that is true, y'all are pledging your money to elect someone who is going to continue a genocide, who is going to continue US militarism, who is going to continue to overfund domestic police departments, that are going to continue to do what they did to Miss Massey and more of our people. Nothing will change in this system under Kamala Harris. And I think I saw from one of the groups of people who got together and decided to throw their resources at Kamala Harris, they said that they have an agenda, and the first thing on their agenda is reparations. You want to get your check from the government that is arming and funding a genocide of another people. You don't care about those people being slaughtered with US tax dollars and US military support. But as long as you get your check from the very same government, we don't have time on this show, Darker Than Blue, to unpack that right there. The fact that among some of these Black folks, reparations is the first demand they have, but they are not concerned about the literal people being slaughtered by Israel with the support, the material support of the US government, that if the US government pulled their material support back, Israel would not be able to continue to do. So Black folks, these folks are literally saying their interest in reparations is more important than saving the lives of Palestinian and Congolese people right now. That's what we're looking at, folks. We need to be honest and clear about who these Black folks are. They are not on the side of the people. They have declared their allegiance to the empire. They have chosen their side of the barricade. My question, folks, is which side are you on? But that's going to do it today for Darker Than Blue. Thanks so much for hanging out with us shortly. Hey, next week, guess what? I'm going to have the author of that fantastic article in Black Agenda Report here as my guest. So join me next week for a fantastic conversation with none other than Ajamu Baraka. Until then, y'all, be good to each other, be good to yourselves. A luta continua. This struggle continues, as you can well see. But I promise you, if we keep fighting, if we don't give up, if we do not stay silent, Victoria Acerta. Victory is certain. Stay tuned for News Views with Garland Nixon. Peace, y'all. All righty, folks. Thank you so much for joining me for Darker Than Blue. Excuse me. I wanted to cuss so bad so many times. I almost cussed and got fired from a job I ain't getting paid for. I could not. I was reading these articles, y'all, to prepare for the show. Let me let my dog back in because he you know how I do. I have to, he's just a part of my life. So everybody gets to see the dog. But that's not, not everybody likes that. And he's not a professional, so he doesn't know when not to bark. But I'm looking at these people and I'm just like, so 40,000 Black women had $1.5 million just kind of laying around. And look, I'm not even saying that's a lot of money. I mean, I guess if you do the math, it will come out to not a whole lot, but 40,000 mugs, that's a lot of mugs. That's a lot of people. And you mean to tell me them 40,000 mugs, and that's just the women now, them 40,000 mugs ain't never want to get together and throw $1.5 million at shit else Black folks been struggling under? Really? Now, this is not a surprise to me, but I just think it's hilarious how obvious they are. Clearly just in your face. They're not saying the obvious thing. They are obviously all 40,000 of them to a person, right? I don't care what they say. Somebody is going to confront one of these people at some point and say, why would you all support her? What do you say about the genocide? They are going to come up with all kinds of excuses. Oh, we have a better chance under Kamala Harris than under Biden to get her to change course. And read that statement that woman made about the protests today. Read it. And you tell me whether you think she is going to treat. Oh. And then because they didn't want to be blamed for Harris if she doesn't win, then the brothers were like, well, we're going to get together. We're going to raise some money too. And of course, it was led by Roland Martin, who has the principles of a fucking newt. And I what do I say? Jesus. I am you know how in religious households they always tell you, hey, you shouldn't hate anybody. No, I hate mugs. I do. Yeah. I carry around a pretty big fucking purse full of hate. I hold grudges. Because see, when you hurt people, then I know that I am always the target. If people don't have a problem with other folks being abused, oppressed, violated, exploited, beaten, raped, murdered, massacred. If you don't have a problem with that being done to other people, and I don't care what those other people, I don't, there is handling conflict and then there's genocide, right? There's waging a war that both of you are involved in, and then there's what's going on in Palestine. Because the Palestinians they don't have an army. They have resistance fighters. And you know what resistance fighters are? People who are sick and tired of being oppressed and are putting their lives on the line fighting for their freedom. That's what resistance fighters are. Resistance fighters are the people. They come from the people. And these folks, these 40,000 Black women, how many Black men? 20,000 Black men, 164,000 white women. Do you not understand how much I despise these people right now? I know it's not a very professional thing to say. It's probably not a very mature thing to say. I guess my mouth has gotten me in trouble more times than a little bit, but look, baby, I'm 56. I ain't nothing changing at this point. So, but how else am I supposed to look at these people who do not care that their savior candidate is an architect of genocide? Is not only an architect of genocide, but she is slandering anti-genocide protesters and calling them anti-Semitic. She did it. I am telling you, go read that press release from Kamala Harris about the protests. And you let me know how you feel about all these Black folks and women, white women who raised all this money for. You let me know how you feel about them. Because see, not now. Now I'm hoping, now I'm hoping more people can see for yourself with your own eyes without me having to do a whole lot more ranting and raving. Now I hope people see what we mean when we talk about the Black misleadership class. These are not just people who, don't want to reach the same goal the same way. No, these people do not give a shit about human beings who are not them. And I'm talking about the donors now. I'm not talking about the Democrats or the Republicans. I'm talking about these people who got together, who have never gotten together for anything in regard to fighting for us. But they were able to get together and in a day come up with $1.5 million for the women, probably a little over $1 million for the men, $8.5 million from the white women, all to give to someone who is a committed and accepted and now chosen and anointed representative of the Democratic Party that has endless resources, a bottomless pit of resources. The Democratic Party has resources that are so vast that they have spent quite a bit of their money running neoliberal candidates against progressive Democrats to make sure that the progressive Democrats don't win. And a lot of that money, you know where it comes from? Israel. So if you think that Kamala Harris is going to change direction, course correct, stop sending money and weapons to Israel, if you think she is going to condemn the Zionist apartheid entity, or ZAE, as I have taken to calling them, because they don't deserve the name Israel. They don't. They do not. And as a person of faith, and I know people, y'all got feel a certain way about, my faith. I don't really give a shit. As a person of faith, Israel means something special to us. And it actually doesn't matter which faith it is, because Israel is Abraham. He is the father of all three faiths, Abrahamic faiths. So for these people to take his name is an abomination. It is an affront. It is an affront to people of all Abrahamic faiths. And if you asked, if you asked Muslims and Christians and Jews, what is our relationship to each other? If you get someone who's honest and actually did read their holy text and did some studying, they'll tell you we are all related. All of us, Jews, Muslims, Christians, because Abraham is all of our spiritual father. That's the truth. So for these people to call their Zionist apartheid entity Israel, oh no, you're not Israel. You're the ZAE. You are the Zionist apartheid entity. That's what I'm calling them from now on. But these folks, these 40,000 Black women, these 20,000 Black men, these 164,000 white women, they have all declared that they don't care about genocide. They have declared that 180,000 undercount, all right, because 180,000 is not the final count of murdered people in Palestine. It's a lot more than that, because what excavation of bodies has been done? When we know from reports that the Zionists would move and basically dump the bodies out of sight so that the aid workers who come in can't document the carnage. This is what the ZAE has been doing. After they slaughter all of these people, after they snipe at them when they're trying to go get food, when they're trying to go to the bathroom, when they're trying to run to a place of safety, when they're trying to run from a place that was supposed to be a safe place. Yeah, what the ZAE does after they slaughter all of those people, just trying to survive in their own land, they go and collect the bodies and they dump them in a big hole, or they just find a place where they can make a shallow enough trench and they dump the bodies in and they just cover them over so that no one can document the carnage. This is all over social media. It's all over Instagram. It's all over Twitter. It's all over Facebook. So I know some of these people are aware of this, and they have just declared to us that they don't care. So what are you going to do about that, fam? Right? Like what and this is the thing that's kind of blowing my mind. I I don't think I thought about, I'm sure I didn't. I didn't thought about, I didn't I don't not sure that I have thought about how how we going to deal with these people? How are we going to, and this is the thing. Many of these folks have gotten on our shows and have responded to our posts when we bring up Kamala's terrible record in the past and now. And they're the very people who are like, well, we can organize better under Harris. Like, a couple of people who were in the chat one day last week were saying, oh, these people were talking about organizing. This is the kind of organizing they're talking about. What they just did. That's what they mean by organize. They're not talking about doing the work that we are doing, actually organizing for power for the people. No, they're talking about organizing to use their resources to keep the system as it exists in place so they can get a little bit more crumbs from this system. That's what this is. This is not about doing anything for the rest of us. Please don't think that these people have gotten together and in their conversations, they have said, well, look, most of our people, we're doing okay, but most of our people, way too many of our people living at or below the poverty line, homelessness, an enormous a percentage of Black people are homeless. So that impacts us disproportionately. How about all queer African folks who are getting that double oppression because they're Black and because they're non-binary, right? We need something for our people there. What about our disabled community? Man, our disabled community has such a hard time navigating everything because they're Black and because they're disabled, and nobody pays any attention or takes disabled people seriously. Do you all think they were in these calls talking about anything? Do you think you think Raphael Warnock and Roland Martin and them motherfuckers and Andre Dinkins were on that call talking about Cop City and the horror, the militarism, the oppression, the murder that is already a part of that project's legacy now with the murder of Tortuguita? You think they were on that call talking about we need to do something for all of our working class? No. No, they put forth their little Black agenda with reparations at the top of the agenda because they want their cut. They want their cut. They're not doing any of this to change any of the material conditions of the rest of us. Mm-mm. They are very much on that. You are either with us or you are against us. Oh, okay. Let me look at the comments here. All righty. No, Black Gold, you have to elect. You do what you want. You can do whatever you want. Help yourself. If you feel like you have to elect Kamala to beat Trump because you are afraid that Trump is going to enslave you, go ahead. Help yourself. I'm not fitting to tell you what to do, what not to do. I just ask that you don't come over here fitting to tell me what to do and what not to do and why. Don't do it. And you can tell your friends if that came from one. Don't do it, because I know that's what people are. Oh no. What about Trump? What about him? What about is he gonna do anything that's a surprise? I mean, because like surprises are not his thing. He just pretty much, Okay, good. All right, then I take that back then. Good. Thank you for clarifying that, because I'm like, man, today is not the day for trolls. Today is not the day for trolls. I don't know why I am so. This is just so funny to me that of all of the things that would, because I have been wondering, like, yo, as we have been organizing and seeing some some gains, some improvement domestically, seeing attendance at our events improving and all this kind of stuff. It's like, all right, yeah, this is, yeah, our people are still very confused and it's very hard organizing our people. And yeah, but it's been encouraging to see people receptive and be like, okay, well, yeah, this makes sense. And that's been fantastic. But I have also been like wondering, as I'm participating in these protests, and I am seeing that I am the only person in my neighborhood with a Palestinian anything. Hell, I'm the only person in my neighborhood with a Pan African flag. And everybody except for three people in my neighborhood is black. Do you understand? So, but these are middle class blacks. So there is very much a I need to get along. I need to fit in. I need to, yeah, I need to not make waves. And I'm sorry, I just come from wave making people, I guess, because just what you mean. People see me going to, leaving the house. Oh, with all my signs and my flags, and oh, you going out to protest again, Jackie? Yes, I am. You coming this time? That's the type of neighbor I am. I am really like this all the time. So I have been wondering as I've been going to these protests and having really incredible experiences. For me, the encampments this summer, these protests have been, and the work that we have done through our campaigns, it's been like affirming for me, right? For me personally. But it's also made me kind of think and stop and look around at my surroundings and the people I'm around, and wonder, what is it going to take for y'all to be angry enough to get out of your comfort zone, and shit, at least say free Palestine. Okay, you don't want to come out to a protest. Okay, can you put up a Palestinian flag in your window? Can you put up a Congolese flag in you? Can you put up a Haitian flag in you? Can you do say no? No. You know why? Because it's not me. It ain't me. It ain't me. I don't know nothing about them people over. This is what one of my neighbors actually said to me, and this was an elderly lady, so I didn't have that much smoke for her because she's an elderly lady. She's my elder. But she was dead serious. She was like, I don't know those people. I do not know those people over there. And I don't know nothing about them. And they fighting with, and then it was, oh, you know what the Bible says about Israel. I'm like, yeah, I do. And that's why I know they full of shit. Because what they're doing is not what the Bible says about Israel. That's another conversation. But I have been really wondering, like, what is it gonna take to get our people angry enough to get involved? And damn, I didn't think it would be this. That's the thing that got me like, this was not the answer I wanted. And it just is the truth. It is the answer that we don't want to accept, that we don't want to admit, but this is the truth. We have been saying, we radical Black African organizers, we crazy anti-imperialist organizers, we psycho anti-capitalist organizers, we crazy commie Marxist Leninist organizer, all whatever, man. I'm all that. Yes, I am. And we have been saying for years that our biggest enemy is the internal. And we have seen it. I think we have seen that today. I think we have seen that now this week. We're not talking about just a few rich people. And this also brings in the whole celebrity culture conversation that we are always having. And I feel like I need to get Ricky and maybe Musa in to talk about, because we should not dismiss the role that Black and other celebrities have had in being involved in this. Because what was the factor in all of these events? The celebrities that were involved. Oh my God. Mm-mm. So for for me, I think this week and these particular stories have been eye-opening, and I think they were eye-opening because while I know we've got a serious class problem with the Black Boule class and the Black Miss Leadership class and the Congressional Black Caucus and all this kind of stuff, I think the numbers are just like, but 40,000, you know, like 20,000, that's 60,000 of our people that we are automatically like, you suck now. Sus. That's a lot. That's let's just be honest. That's a lot of people. And that's a lot of people we know. That's all our cousins, them, our uncles, them, our, family members who went to college, joined a fraternity, a sorority, and, really got indoctrinated into that pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And there is so much swirling around in my head. I was preparing for the show today and I was writing stuff down because this is what I do. And I don't mind showing you. I like showing you little weird stuff because I have a weird process for pretty much everything. It's not like for 3 years, almost 4 years, I had an established process with by any means necessary. And it was, for me, it was simple. It was elegant. It was connected by time, and it worked for me because I was so productive because things were very regimented. And I was able to get up early, get to the studio at like 7:30, do the morning show for 2 hours. By then it's 10 o'clock. We didn't even start doing the first interviews for the first hour until like 10:30, 11 o'clock. So I had an hour where I would just write. And that's how I wrote the monologues. I would do the morning show, I would have that hour before our first interview, and I would write the monologue 5 days a week, and then we do the show. Then I'd look at the script and see what we were talking about, who we were talking to, and we did the show, and we were done by 4. And I was very productive because that. So I got used to like writing everything down in the notebooks. And so I have like 87,000 notebooks running around this house. With some pretty important things in some of them that I keep forgetting that I put in different places. But so I do what I do, I'm reading my articles and I'm making my notes, and look, I'm making my little connections here with little thoughts that I have after I write down the first thing. And I'm just like, there is so much I could not. This is like the fourth page of notes. Because I'm just reading these articles and it's like, oh my God, what about the thing? Oh, what about this thing? What about, because that's really this development is an enormous signal to us about who our enemies really are. We know that the Republicans hate us. Yes, they do. Yes. And they never make any bones about it. So I don't, I feel like I don't need to spend a whole lot of time talking about the Republicans and what they're going to do and what they're not going to do, because they just tell you. you know the Democrats, I think most of these people even understand that the Democratic Party is terrible. Terrible. But classism is a hell of a drug, man. Classism has so many of these people believing that they have some kind of connection with Kamala Harris. that she has a connection with us, that because she's a Black woman and she's a soror and she went to Howard, she's like us. That's what it is. She's like us. So we can give her this agenda that we have. That the first thing on the agenda was reparations. The second thing is the John Lewis Voting Act. The third thing is the George Floyd police reform. Pieces of legislation that really do not address the needs of the people, but they are honestly like the Democrats' neoliberal not wish list, but the neoliberal things that they're like, fine, we'll do this much, but we're not doing anything else. No reform. No, we're not doing. We'll give more. We'll give the police more money for more training. That's pretty much the George Floyd Policing Act. And there's a suggestion. Well, the police should report incident. So these folks have presented Harris with their agenda that doesn't have shit to do with us. That doesn't have a damn thing to do with the working class and poor people. And the fact that these folks put reparations at the top of that agenda in a capitalist society, with an imperialist government that is actively deploying massive austerity measures, not just here, but supporting austerity measures being implemented by propped up coup installed leaders in other countries where a whole lot of people who look like us live, right? They didn't put in their agenda in the criminalization of homelessness. They didn't put in the agenda build X number of housing units for the homeless, or not even build, commandeer this number of homeless of empty units and put the homeless in them. Government subsidized housing. They didn't put on their agenda anything that would change, improve the material conditions of any of our people. They didn't say anything in their agenda about political prisoners. Now, how do you just experience the release of Julian Assange? Because the United States government really had no legal claim against that man because he's not an American citizen. He's not. So everything they accused him of doing, oh, you committed treason against the US government. Well, how can somebody who's not an American citizen commit treason? This ain't his government. Whew. But I'm very confused about how you know about, in any way, the release of Julian Assange from prison. But you don't bring up in your demands to Kamala Harris that, okay, do Mumia next. Mumia Abu Jamal out of prison. Jawanda Bowers out of prison. All of our political prisoners out of prison. Nothing about political prisoners. Mm-mm. Nope. So this 60,000 Black folks, 164,000 white women have basically declared their allegiance to the empire. And in doing so, I think they have declared you and me their enemies. So I think they should be treated as such. I think we need to stop having these conversations about, oh, we need to reach the. I'm sorry. To me, as an organizer, this solidifies who I'm not going to spend my time reaching out to. We need to save our people, working class and poor folks, from those folks. That I said it, and I will say it again. I will make it clear. We need to organize to save working class and poor people, many of whom are deeply indoctrinated and are just as confused as these Boule Negroes. Yes, but I would rather struggle amongst my class for clarity than give any legitimacy to my class enemies who have declared themselves my class enemies. Right? So we need to be organizing our people. We need to be clear about who our people are now, because these folks have just helped us make it clear. And I don't care where in the world our people are that we are organizing with. We are organizing with the same class of people around the world: working class, poor, and oppressed people. I don't care what ethnicity or background they are. I don't care. Straight, gay, queer, whatever, multi-gendered. I don't care. Working class and poor people. Working class, poor, and oppressed people. We organize among our class. We struggle over ideas among our class to advance our class, to win power and freedom for our class. We do not need to organize to give the Boule any more than they already had. Because, see, they just showed us that when they have, they are not going to share it with us. Catch that. Please catch that. Now, I know the numbers don't pan out to any of these people individually having a whole lot of money, because 40,000 people raising $1.5 million. Yeah, you do the math. That's okay. But they have just made it clear that they can come together for a singular purpose and commit their resources to that purpose in a collective fashion. But that purpose didn't have anything to do with helping you and me, with helping working class and poor people. No, they were happy to come together and use their resources to prop up the system, to prop up the empire, to prop up the blackface representative of the empire now. And not a word was said about, in exchange for this money, for this campaign, this is what you're going to do for the least of these. No, they didn't talk about the least of these, because they didn't care about the least of these. They have made it clear that they will take whatever resources they have and invest it in things and vehicles and whatever that will get them more of what they want. They're not sharing with us. They didn't share any of that with us. That 1.5 million, that 1 million, that 8.5, none of that was shared with us. That didn't trickle down to us either, y'all. So Reagan's trickle down economics was bullshit and it's a lie. And guess what? Unity just for unity's sake, just because we Black, that's bullshit too. I don't root for everybody Black. And this is why. Because it's obvious, because of class differences, everybody Black ain't gonna root for us. Not if we're not trying to chase the bag like they are. Not if we are not trying to get a seat at the table. I don't want a seat at the table. And I don't want to just flip the table over. Understand, I want the building that the table is in and the rules that are made about the table. I want it all gone, all of it, so that we build our shit on top of it. For us, by us. So, folks, whew, Lord, these are some times. these are some times. I said to my dad one time, my dad, who is, you all know, he's an elder in the Church of God in Christ, very holy. The man is finally starting his own church after years of him saying, I don't want to be a pastor. I'm like, yeah, okay. But yeah, he will be pastoring his own church soon. Him and Nikita. Um, and I said to him, we were talking about politics or something one time, and I cussed, and I try not to cuss in front of my dad, just because he's my dad. But he knows how I am, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to work on that." And he was like, "No, no, these are some cussing times." He's like, "No, If you did these days, if you can't cuss a little bit at what they do, no, these are some cussing times." And he's right. Shit. What the fuck? I just I I think I expected the Black Boule class to show up and show off like a bunch of trained circus animals for Kamala Harris. I knew that was gonna happen. But 60,000 of them? No. That's that's 60,000. And how are we supposed to get away from these people? We can't get away from them because we go to church with them, we work with them, they're in our families. There are relatives. There are parents. There are grandparents, right? That's the part of this that gets uncomfortable, really. Because there is going to come a point where we are going to have to decide, like, what kind of relationship we're going to have with our family over these issues. And just fair dues and full disclosure, I don't talk about this genocide with a couple of members of my family because the it's not just the lack of knowledge that people have, it is the refusal to want to know. That's the thing. It is knowing that people are being mass murdered and not really wanting to know because it you don't think it has anything to do with you. You don't know nothing about those people. And those people, as I have heard, but the Arabs enslaved us first, and they don't like black folks no way. And I don't think that there is anything that we can really say to these people that's gonna resonate. Because look, we sometimes we might be able to reach folks, sometimes we're not. For me, it's like it's always a decision in is the return on the investment of the effort enough for you to engage in this conversation with this person. And usually, if you've had conversations with them before, that like this is a waste of time, or maybe I can get. And if it's a waste of time, don't do it. Oh my God, don't do it. It's just because the emotional. This is what I found about me. The emotional toll that it is taking on me to learn that people I know and love do not care that other people are being slaughtered. I don't know how to look at my family members the same. I cannot look at them the same. I cannot look at them and know for certain they have my back, right? Because if you don't care that 180,000 people, mostly babies, mostly children. If you don't care that 180,000 people have been slaughtered, 6 million people over the last 10 years in the Congo have been displaced. I forget the number of people who have been murdered. if if you don't care about that many human beings, how can you care about me? When I'm out here putting my life and my safety on the line, fighting for human rights and dignity and the right to life. And some of these people, I know I'm wandering over the place now, but man, this has been on my mind. Some of these people are so-called Christians, and they have been on that anti-abortion kick for fucking ever, and they have just not shut the fuck up about it. And that's all they talked about for decades. Oh, we've got to save the unborn babies, and all the babies that are here are fucking starving, and they didn't care, because then it was like, well, if their parents weren't irresponsible, and if they would just pray and accept the Lord, then he could bless them. I have had to listen to these people go on and on about unborn babies and saving the babies all these years. And the one time they get an opportunity to actually save some babies, they don't. And they unequivocally tell you, I don't give a fuck about those babies. Those aren't the babies I care about. I don't care about them little babies over them little Muslim babies. Little terrorist in training. They sound just like what's his name, Ben Gvir, who said on some interview that he was doing, I think on Israeli or maybe it was French TV, and he said uh and he said that they killed a bunch of terrorists in one of the hospitals now. In him justifying the destruction of a hospital, they killed a bunch of terrorists, and then a bunch of other terrorists were born. And then the interviewer said, "Wait a minute, don't you mean that babies were born? Because the ladies were in a hospital, they were pregnant, and no, I meant terrorists." And the interviewer was like, "No, they're babies. They were no, these folks, these people who you know who don't care about those babies, that's exactly what they think. That is exactly what they may not say it to your face. They may not even say that they don't care about them kids to your face, but their actions speak volumes. The 60,000 Black folks, that's exactly what their actions say. They don't care about those little brown babies. They don't care. They don't care about the fact that since 1946, 47, these European settlers have been stealing Palestinians' land, and this government has been helping them do it. They don't care. And it doesn't matter if you explain to these folks why that struggle is exactly like ours, aside from the fact that we're fighting the same enemy, and aside from the fact that the tax dollars, the taxes that we're forced to pay to these, that's, yeah. So that's our money. Our money is dropping bombs on those babies. Mm-hmm. But never mind the fact that we're talking about the fight for land. And that is at the foundation of every liberation struggles fight. Because why is that? Because the people who are indigenous to the land have the land, and then a bunch of people who are not indigenous to the land, who are greedy, stealing, thieving, lying, murdering European settler colonists, come over and say, hey, this is lovely. You have resources that we don't have in our country. We can't grow anything because we live in caves and it's cold. And we have a feudal system, and the kings and queens take everything. And wow, you got a lot of land and it's very fertile, and you've got resources in the land, and let's just take it because you ain't doing nothing with it. And we know how settler colonialism goes. It's not a negotiation. It's not an engagement with the people. There's no mutually beneficial agreement reached between the settler colonists and the indigenous people where they can hang out together. And no, the Europeans come in and they're like, you niggas, or you savage Indians, or you oh gosh, what was the horrible thing that they oh, you Chinamen, uh-huh, yeah, I'm not gonna say that word, that's really disgusting. Yeah, however they saw non-European indigenous people, they were like, no, you're savages. You're not even Christians. Because they always did this shit in the name of Christianity. And didn't read the book, because none of it is in the book. So you cannot even talk about the struggle in Palestine and Congo and Haiti and connect it to our struggle for liberation here, because these very same folks, this 60,000 Black folks, they don't care about those either. They don't care about those folks in Haiti. They believe those folks in Haiti need to be invaded to get rid of criminal gangs. They believe it. They believe it. Mm-hmm. Yep. They don't care about those people in the Congo. They don't care. As long as they can get their next iPhone 28 with a link to Elon Musk's satellite system, they don't care. They don't care about how many kids die digging for coltan with their hands in the Congo. They don't care. And I see that my dad, I think he hop in here? Where did he go? Yes, he did. Hey, Daddy. And see, this is why I love my dad. This is one of the reasons I other than he is my dad and he is just, the greatest person. When my dad asks questions like this, he's ready to do some work. Because if he ain't ready to do no work, he ain't gonna ask you about no damn work. Because he is retired and he ain't working no more. So he ain't gonna ask you how to do nothing because he's not doing it. But when my father asks, how do we do this? Then you better move because he's ready to. So let me answer his question. How can we stop the slaughter? How can we enlighten the people to do the research before taking sides? Here's the thing, and I'm so glad that last part is great. I think we have to take sides before we do any research, because the sides are very simple: genocide or no genocide. It's real simple. We're not asking people, and this is the thing that I think that I love that he asked that. This is the thing that I think people are unclear about. Maybe I'm not asking you to become an expert on Palestine. I'm not an expert on Palestine. I don't know all of the history. You know where you go to for that? Palestinians. It's plenty of them here in the US, around in organizations. Invite Palestinian leaders to your church. That's the one thing, that is the thing you do. If you want to know about anything that is going on anywhere in the world and you want people in your faith community to be involved, invite representatives from that community of people to come to your church and talk to folks about what's going on. Because I guarantee you that the people who are struggling in those countries are people of faith. I guarantee you. Guarantee it. So it certainly wouldn't be a breach of church protocol, which is a serious thing. Look, I'm not into busting up into people's institutions and just wrecking stuff just because I can. There may come a time for that one day, but today is not that day. So, but if you want to learn about what's going on in Palestine, If you want to learn what's going on in Haiti, if you want to learn about what's going on in Congo, why is the war between Russia and Ukraine so important? Why is what the US government about to do in regard to China so important? What is the US about to do on the Korean Peninsula? You don't even know. You need to find out. You need to get people in your group of folks to talk about these issues. And guess what? Guess what, y'all? I know that a lot of us don't know Palestinian folks. I know that's true. It's true. It's true. But you know me, and I belong to an organization that not only has people who have been engaging in and working on these issues for decades, and I mean longer than I have been alive. Do you understand me? But we also have members of other organizations and organizations that are members of this formation. So if you don't know any Palestinians to invite to your church wherever you are in your country, that's cool. You know how to reach out to me. And I don't have to come. Although my dad would definitely be like, this is my daughter. And she gonna talk to you about Palestine. And you gonna listen. Now pray. But because I know that I don't want to exploit the relationship that I have with my dad, I wouldn't even be the one. I would not want to be the one to go and speak to his congregation if they would want me to. I wouldn't do it. Because of it, I will send somebody else. But you can definitely call us if you want someone to come. We will do Zoom. We will take the train and come do. You call us, we will come. And if we can't, we will definitely get in touch with somebody who will. That's how you do it. But in order to do that, in order to even want to do that, you have to take sides. You have to decide that you want your people to know that a genocide is going on. The genocide is bad. All of the time, genocide is bad. And that this faith community does not stand on the side of supporting genocide. And here is why we don't support genocide. Then you get people, then you expose people to the history. And the faith community has a particularly important role in this conversation. Oh, I just realized. So today is Friday. Sunday, there is a big, I'm hoping it's going to be very big. Sunday, there is going to be an event here in DC in which members of the faith community are gathering here in DC. I'm looking for the email. There it is. It's called the Interfaith Action for Palestine Committee. And they are coming to DC starting Sunday to disrupt the Christians United for Israel's annual lobbying summit. Why? Why are they doing this? Kufi, Christians United for Israel, is the largest pro-Israel organization in this country. Does your church know about Christians United for Israel? What they do, why they are a problem? You should. They should know, because I bet you these people have tried to reach out to your church, particularly Black churches, because they're always trying to get Black folks to support the Zionist apartheid entity. And they have been successful in doing this with free trips to Israel, throwing money at the, oh yeah. See, they'll have folks go to the Wailing Wall in Israel. They will have Christians, go to Tel Aviv. They'll have folks go to where they think the Garden of Gethsemane is, I think, where Jesus went to pray before his crucifixion. They'll take folks to all of the Christian sites, but they will not let people go into occupied Palestine. They will not let people go into Gaza. or Rafah or any of the occupied territory, but they will spend all the money to send to bring a whole church of black folks to Israel to see how advanced Israel is without showing them the oppression and the mass murder and the slaughter and the land theft and the apartheid and the political prisoner system that is at the foundation of all of that so-called progress. So your churches need to know about Christians United for Israel, because they're the ones who are raising all the money and getting all of these churches involved in supporting Israel. AIPAC is not doing that. Christians United for Israel is doing it. Your churches need to know about these people. So this week, or next week rather, this faith-based coalition of activists will meet here in DC to disrupt this annual lobbying summit. They're planning a number of actions, from an interfaith worship service to banner drops to disruptive actions, lobbying, online activities for those who can't attend in person. So if you can't get here to DC, you can attend these events online, and I will give you the link so you can join in on them. Let's see, let me make sure I got the right link. Registration, supporting organization, caller. Yep, all of that stuff. Let me put it in the chat for you. So if you are a member of a community of faith, I don't care what faith it is, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Zoroastrian, I don't care. Rastafarian, whatever, I don't care. If you want to know more, if you want your faith community to know more, then you can register for this event. Link is in the chat. And you can always contact me. You know my email. We can get you in touch with people who can do webinars for your church. So, but I think, like I said, in order to do that, you have to pick a side first. And that side has to be you're against genocide. Because everyone else who is either saying they fully support Israel, no matter what Israel does, or everyone else who is silent and not saying anything, certainly not opposing genocide, they're supporting it. They're either supporting it by flat out saying, yeah, we don't care that Israel kills all those Muslims, because people are Islamophobic in this country. It's true. It's true. And a lot of those folks are Christians too. I have heard Christians say some really ignorant, hateful, dumb shit about, about Muslims. I have known people who are like, they run around, Allah this and Allah that. You know, that's just the Arabic word for God, right? It's the same entity. It's just God in a different language. You fucking just. And the level of hatred with some of these people really makes it difficult to have conversations, real conversations with them, because they really do believe some of this crazy stuff that has been spread around by folks like John Hagee, who has been pro-Israel for decades, saying all kinds of crazy stuff about Palestine that's not in the book. The Christians have been on this weird anti-Islamic crusade, claiming that all around the world. I just saw an ad on Facebook yesterday claiming all around the world Christians are being persecuted for their faith. No, they're fucking not. Christians are not being persecuted for our faith around. We're not. We are not. So, Dad, And those of you who are members of churches, because I know some of y'all are, some of y'all pastors, you're evangelists, you're deacons, you're not, yeah. Some of if you were wondering the same thing my dad asked, how do we educate our people in this? How do we engage our people and get them this education? Well, first you have to decide that you actually are against genocide. And once you decide you are against genocide, then you can reach out to these resources that are all over the place, right at your disposal, to bring you this information and this education that you need. I got books I can suggest. I give you links to webinars that I have done, me and Abdus did, that BAP has done, that other organizations have done. We got all the goods. If you want to know, there is nothing in this universe that is keeping you from knowing the truth, other than if you have not decided yourself that you are against genocide yet. So I'm so glad my dad hopped in and asked that question. Thank you so much, Daddy, for asking that question. I hope that was helpful for all of you, because I meant that for all of you. I don't belong to an organization that doesn't do anything, that doesn't respond when people say, hey, we don't understand. How can we learn this? Yeah, we definitely go into our, oh, where does this fit into our strategic plan? Well, it's a part of this campaign. So let's, I don't know, plan some town halls. Let's plan some webinars and teachings. Let's connect with some other organizations and see if they're having events and make sure, we support these people. And yeah, so yeah, I absolutely belong to an organization that we expect to do this work, because Kwame Ture told us that our people need constant political education constantly. That's my thing. That's my bag. That's what we do. So, this week, y'all, let me have some more tea. Wait a minute. It's almost time for the nightcap. This week has been a lot. It has been, I don't think I have laughed at shenanigans so blatantly fascistic and undemocratic. Man, George Jackson was dead on in 1976 when he wrote In Blood in My Eye, fascism is already here. Settle your quarrels. Find your love in revolution. He said, many people will live butchered half lives. Many more will die if we do not act. So here we are in 2024, asking those who are not among the 60,000 Black folks who have just declared their allegiance for the empire, what are you going to do to make sure that nobody lives butchered half lives and that nobody dies because this system continues to exist without any resistance from us? Organizing with the working class and poor people around the world who are fighting it tooth and nail for their lives. When are we going to stand up and fight this system from the inside like we're supposed to? I'm sure people around the world are wondering too. So that's it for me tonight. Thank you so much, y'all, for hanging out with me on this completely unstructured rant. After Darker Than Blue, it was just, you know what? I don't even understand. I don't know. It's just, we in trouble. I feel Daruba. I feel him on it don't look good for the home team. It does not look good for the home team. But I think the team lines are drawn. And those other folks, that's not the home team. I think we're the home team. And I think we are going to make a better showing of our resistance than this 60,000 Black folks did. Surely. And surely we can make a better showing of our resistance than all of the silent Black folks, all of the Black folks who are not making a decision about where they stand on genocide. Because see, if you can't make a decision about where you decide where you stand on somebody else's genocide, when I'm in the crosshairs, I can't trust you to stand up for me because you wouldn't stand up for them. You would not stand up for them. And I don't know if y'all know it or not, but I'm really big on people standing up for people who are oppressed, people who are mistreated. I really don't trust people who stand silently by and allow people to be mistreated because it's not them, because they don't think it's a big deal, because that's just how they are. I don't know what you. It's all connected. Your personal behavior, all connected to all of this international stuff. What you personally will tolerate in your life as far as oppression and mistreatment and disrespect and exploiting people, if you're going to stay silent about that in your personal life, I don't trust you to stand up when the system does it. I don't. As a matter of fact, I don't believe you if you do stand up against the system doing it. If I know that you would not open your mouth to stand up against it in your personal life, that's how deep this is. That's how serious this decision is that has to be made before any organizing is done. So you want to join an organization? I want to do some things for the people. Well, what have you said about this genocide? What about what the US and Israel are doing in the Congo and what oh, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Oh, then you're not on the same team. We are not on the same team then. We are not on the same team with those 60,000 folks. Now is the time for us to get our team up, folks. So that's what we need to start doing. All right. Thank you so much. I am done for tonight. Now I am going to go have a drink because this is a whole mess. We'll see you Tuesday morning for the Remix Morning Show. Next Friday, I will try to have another show before Friday because I'm trying to get my schedule straight. Some other things have happened. I have more news to tell you. It's good news, but I'm still trying to kind of work out how I'm going to do it. But that's next time. I'll try to have another show with some folks to talk about some more of this craziness from the Democrats sometime in the week. I'll let you know. Stay tuned for all of the good stuff on this channel. I think Kim is on later. I believe Black Myths is on later. Y'all go watch something, learn something. Me, I am going to go decompress with some really bad sci-fi and some Uncle Nearest. And I'll see y'all in these streets. Be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. A luta continua. This struggle is not over. That's okay. If we keep fighting, I promise, Victoria Acerta, we will win. Peace.